It's going to be unveiled. Security Minister says long-awaited crime plan could be revealed as early as next week. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Archibald Gordon.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, new policy. No more used cars for the police force.
Back to work. Strike ends on the Mandela Highway project, but not all workers return.
Deadly error. Health Ministry overstates death of newborns at the University Hospital.
Give us the land. Informal settlers appeal for help.
And in business news, bank on us. Scotia Group reports strong profit growth.
There's also sports commentary and weather in the primetime package. But before the break, the feedback question.
This evening we're asking, what do you think should be done to deal with the squatting problem in Jamaica?
Share comments online, facebook.com/television Jamaica and tweet at Television Jam.
Stay with us. Primetime News returns after this break.
The fallout from the investigation of a Manchester businessman who was in possession of a gun-making machine has been significant. Attorney at law representing the accused John Jr. says his client has been losing business. He was speaking at a lay magistrates meeting in Manchester last evening. TVJ's Janella Precious reports.
It's been almost 3 months since the Firearm Licensing Authority and the police have been investigating a large quantity of ammunition linked to a businessman in Mandeville, Manchester, and the subsequent discovery of a machine which can make parts for guns. The parish was also singled out following allegations that convicted criminals were being granted firearm licenses. It's what led to the sacking of 3 members of the FLA. Attorney John Jr., whose clients have been implicated in the investigations, continues to raise concerns.
Mocha was called in. Not one person has been charged in relation to this. So I'm a little worried that this is a modus operandi, creeping in where when you want to do something, you create a scandal and then you use that as the excuse to do it.
Mr. Jr. explained that his client in Manchester have been losing business.
The membership of the Manchester Rifle and Pistol Club, which is supposed to be renewed on an annual basis and comes up now, very few people have renewed. You don't, damn it, if you conduct your investigations, and everybody has a right, you know, this is a sensitive area, you have a right to conduct an investigation, but you do not have a right to allegations made in the public space. Right? Before you come to a conclusion about those investigations, to damage my business or my character.
He again took issue with the assertions made about the investigations into the purchase of over 100,000 rounds of ammunition.
Why then was the 12,000 rounds to 6 members granted in January? These are all members of the same club that is headquartered at the same range, operated by the same dealer, and who were invited to shoot in the same competition. Did Mr. Darling expect that these folks would leave Mandeville, go to Montego Bay, Kingston, or elsewhere to purchase their rounds for practice at a range in Mandeville?
As for the machine which can make parts for guns, Mr. Jr. says it has never been used. Janella Precious, TVJ News.
After 6 days of strike action, some local workers employed to the $64 million Mandela Highway project are back at work. The workers walked off the job over low wages and improper working conditions on June 1. So why did some of the workers return on Thursday morning? TVJ's Kalisha Williams reports.
Back to work and in new protective gear. Helmet, gloves and proper shoes. Some of the very things local workers on the Mandela Highway project protested for, along with better wages for the last 6 days.
I work with China about 2 years, about 3 years. And if I go out there and want to do a business, I'm say, I work with China, but where's the proof to show the people then? There's no PSC or nothing at all, so I get turned down. I can't get to collect nothing or do nothing because there's no proof to show me I work with China. It's just a talking. So there's no ID? There's no ID, nothing at all.
So why did the workers return to the site on Thursday?
Well, you know, say liaison officer still, I am really decided because him come to me and show say China have a, I say, yo, we not work on a Saturday and Sunday. You see me, so if we just come for the work, or they say them going to replace you and put someone in our workplace, you see me. And so we really need the work, and we have a family to feed. We go around there, I will see some of the man in my work.
So you just decide to join the work?
Yeah, because I can't beat the government system when I see them done set already for we.
We're not right in our own country.
Yeah,
we have to just dish anything what the government give it, take it.
But not all the workers returned. Those assigned to lay pipes, among other duties, have remained off the job. The issues affecting all workers were investigated by the Labour Ministry on Wednesday. After initially refusing to disclose the findings, State Minister in the Labour Ministry, Xavier Mean, provided details on RGR's current affairs program beyond the headlines.
There were matters surrounding the issuance of protective gears, the welfare concerns in terms of, lunch arrangements, whether there were the availability of water, should in case somebody needs to have a drink of water. The issue of the availability of first aid was highlighted in the report. And these are the things that were discussed, and the company has indicated that some of them have been addressed, some of them they are in the process of addressing.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
In the meantime, the General Secretary for the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees, John Levy, says the strike could have been avoided. The issue was highlighted on TVJ's Smile Jamaica on Thursday.
The strike on Mandela Highway is now partially over, but General Secretary of the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees, John Levy, says the work stoppage could be avoided had issues highlighted in 2017 were sorted out. He said the workers raised the concerns then and an investigation was done, but the problems were not fully addressed.
Last year this matter was raised. They went to the site. They looked at the bathroom facilities. They made some recommendations, some things were changed. There was another aspect of the investigation that they promised to report back in a month's time, which is the pay slip issue, all of that. Today, they have never reported on that.
Finally,
he's holding the Labour Ministry responsible for the action of the workers. Mr. Levy referred to documents outlining the policies and procedures to deal with the issues the workers are reporting.
The laws, regulations, or other instruments giving effect to the provisions of this contract shall be brought to the notice of all persons concerned. Define the persons responsible for compliance therewith. Require the posting of notices in conspicuous places at the establishment and workplaces concerned with a view to informing the workers of their conditions of work. And it goes on to speak about shall be kept provided for the adequate records of time work and the wages paid, the workers concerned. A system of inspection adequate to ensure effective enforcement.
He said if the Labour Ministry followed the guidelines in the documents, the workers would not have to strike for the issues to be resolved.
You end up with this kind of situation now where the workers with him shovel and him tape measure and him trowel take it upon himself, throw down everything and say we want a meeting. While if they had the regular arrangement in place, the institutionalized arrangement, you'd have a different outcome. Somebody would sit with the management and say, look, we're having these problems and we need to address them.
Jeline Pearson, TVJ News.
A top story this evening, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the government's crime plan will be unveiled next week. And still ahead, St. James.
Welcome back, continuing the news. The University Hospital of the West Indies is rejecting data published by the Health Ministry in its recent quarterly report on the sector. The data suggested that the hospital's neonatal mortality rate was almost 200% higher than the public hospital, which had the second highest rate for 2017. But late this evening, an apology came.
West Indies home contractors, Wicon, gave them notice to vacate the property. The people took to the streets on Wednesday calling for the government to intervene. TVJ's Kalisha Williams reports.
A woman and 2 children gather under a tree in a yard. The nearby house shows clear signs of recent renovation. Meanwhile, a neighbor is in the process of building a place to call their own. But these people and others living in Hurlock, St. James, may not have long to enjoy the comforts of home. The land on which they build and live is not their own.
I'm tired of it. I'm 26 years old. I'm there on here for me a baby. Everybody there on here a long time and nobody no trouble with. Then they come all of a sudden and come tell we to come off the land for walk and left for we build. This is our house, this is our life. One of the things is where we gonna go.
A resident showed our camera a letter. It is from the legal owner of the property, West Indies Home Contractors, Wicon. The letter stating the developer wants them off the property. The residents, some living here for decades, want a compromise.
I've been here for 25 years and we have never seen anybody say they own this land. And I came here and I saw other people. Our intention is not to capture any land. Our intention is to purchase this land. I'm living in Erlock from 2003. I have 5 children. I have a concrete structure. On the 24th of May, I receive a letter saying that I should quit building and hand over their property. However, I have a concrete structure that cannot be removed. There are hundreds of houses on the land, and he only gives 21 of us summons to go to court.
Bearing placards, they marched through the community, drawing attention to their situation on Wednesday. One of the protesters, Richard Douglas, told our news team his house has been knocked down without notice.
So them a come over with the scheme and then sitting there, so we want the thing upgrade to fit the scheme. So you will go and start bill. So you will go and give me 100,000. So by me give me 100,000 a month after I'm there. And they the juggling and them sitting there. Me say tracked over here, lit down the place.
Claiming they are being treated like animals, the residents called on the authorities to step in on their side.
On many occasions they have meetings where they promise us that they would work out something for us to get the land to buy. Whenever it's coming up to election, they are in our backyards, in our kitchen, even asking for ice water.
When contacted, lawyer representing Wicon Venice Williams Gordon says they have been meeting with residents since 2017 to discuss their removal from the land. She pointed out the residents have been disregarding the company's plea for them to stop expanding the houses. Ms. Williams Gordon, however, declined to say whether the residents will be allowed to purchase the land. Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
The National Works Agency has provided details on a major road project underway in Westmoreland. The road works, which are being done under the Major Infrastructure Development Program, are being carried out by China Harbour Engineering Company, Czech.
There have been several protests here along the Ferris to Maxfield Main Road in Westmoreland over the years. Persons have complained repeatedly about a roadway in dire need of repair. But NWA's Western Region Community Relations Officer Daniel Ricketts says all that is expected to change as the road development work, valued at $24.9 million, gets underway.
It's a major effort which will see the complete upgrade of the 14-kilometer stretch of roadway to include extensive road widening. There are several corners along this corridor that proves problematic at times, so we'll be dealing or paying specific attention to these corners where we'll be widening the sections of roadway. We'll also be undertaking the raising of several sections of the roadway, and this will mitigate against flooding, especially in areas, for example, the section of roadway in the vicinity of the Withorn police station.
She says an extensive drain system will also be put in, which will reduce or eliminate flooding. The project started in April, with most of the heavy equipment and machinery coming in the past few weeks. The projects are expected to last for 14 months, with completion slated for June 2019.
Upon completion, we'll have 2 lanes, which will be much wider than exists now, and we'll also have paved shoulders to facilitate greater ease of movement and so on, so persons can pull off along these sections. So it will be a much wider corridor. We'll work on improving the corners, which have been challenging. So at the end of the project, it should be a much safer roadway on which to traverse.
She says during the next 12 months, more equipment and workmen will be seen along the road, with detours implemented periodically to facilitate the work being done. This, she says, is expected to create extensive delays for motorists. The NWA is, however, asking for road users to obey warning signs and the instructions of flag personnel, as well as to exercise patience and care as they use the area. Herman Green, TVJ News.
The Jamaica Association of Transport Owners and Operators, JATU, does not find favor with the government proposal to open all bus and taxi routes. JATU President Louis Barton instead wants the administration to focus on reforming the Transport Authority, which it said is adding to the chaos in the public transport sector. More in this report.
Opening all routes to bus and taxi operators on the face of it sounds like a wonderful idea if you're in the business of public passenger transportation. However, not all are gung-ho about the proposal, like the Jamaica Association of Transport Owners and Operators, JATU.
My own view is that I don't want you to open up all routes just because I have a car and I want to put it on it, because I who exists on the road now we have a stake on that route. We have invested in that route. If you're going to just tell anybody that they can buy a car and come on my route, then hey, you're taken away from me. Things have to be ordered. It cannot be just helter-skelter.
Jatu argues that a major factor is missing from the minister's proposal, that of the operations of the Transport Authority. Mr. Barton says the authority is not effective and is in need of an overhaul. He blames the agency for much of the indiscipline and chaos dogging the transport sector and is also calling for an end to political appointments in top positions. What he wants:
a person who have expertise in organizing transportation, both in a rural area and in an urban area. And that in our society, in our world, that's an expert. It's not a person who was on the campaign or lost a seat or something like that. But you need a professional to run transportation, because transportation is the lifeblood of any modern society.
Jatu is also renewing calls for a national policy on public transport which will cover issues like license ownership and fare structure.
We are suffering right now. The last time we get a fare increase was 2013. We are preparing something now to ask for another fare increase, right? But between 2013 and 2018, 5 years, almost all inputs have gone up by probably more than 100%, but we can't do it. And the result of that is, well, one of the ways that you keep on going is send and ask Auntie Mary in America to send you money so you can pay the insurance or something like that. But the other part of that is the behavior on the road, because you have to be competing against the illegal operators and other legal operators, so you have to make that money.
Mr. Barton says he will meet with members of the organization to discuss fully the proposals outlined by the minister.
A recent study done by the World Bank has revealed that 90% of the country's population is exposed to multiple hazards. The revelation was made by Director General of ODPEM, Major Clive Davis, today. TVJ's Anthony Lugg reports.
The hurricane season has begun, and the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, says its preparations are in full swing. Over 900 shelters have been checked and relief supplies have been secured. But while that's being done, Major Clive Davis, who heads the agency, argues that many people continue to wait until last minute to prepare.
Sometimes that response will not work.
The 2018 hurricane season is expected to be above average, with a 70% likelihood of 10 to 16 named storms.
We have put a number of programs in place to make sure that if one of these beasts were to come our way, we would be able to effectively and efficiently manage that scenario. So multiple training activities have been had. Persons have been trained in shelter management, first aid, emergency operations, shelter management, damage assessment. We've also had rescue and response agencies such as the fire brigade equipped.
That aside, ODPEM wants citizens to play their part.
It could be days before the national system can get to your community. What is in place in your community to take care of business over those first 48 hours, the initial 48 hours? This is what we're trying to reach out to the public. We're asking you. The national system can do that much and no more.
He was speaking at a Rotary Club of Kingston meeting at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel on Thursday. Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
The Indian High Commissioner has reignited the free public education debate with a suggestion to the Jamaican government that this might be what the island needs to boost its economy and other areas of development. The High Commissioner was speaking at the Clarendon Municipal Corporation on Wednesday, where he announced plans to forge partnerships that will benefit Maypen and cities in India. TVJ's Krista Campbell has more.
A focus on housing, food and education. That's how Indian High Commissioner to Jamaica, Savala Naik, says his government has been able to achieve booming production and an extremely low crime rate in India. The High Commissioner, who is in Jamaica establishing partnerships between the Clarendon capital Maypen and the cities in India, notes agriculture and information technology are India's strong points, so much so that of the 1.25 billion people living in India, less than 4% are unemployed. Almost 50 million Indians work overseas, contributing nearly $80 billion in remittances per year to the Indian economy. He stressed it's all possible because of the Indian government's push for free education, including free lunches in schools.
I think that is where your government should focus in giving the free education to the people. Then your knowledge in the IT sector automatically will come. Today 90% of the BPO companies are all in India. That is because of one single reason, that education was free, so everyone secured a good level of standards.
He notes that business process outsourcing BPO companies owned by Indians have provided over 10,000 jobs in Jamaica, Southern Global Services alone accounting for half that number. 20% of the Indian population lives below the poverty line, but Mr. Naik says his government provides free housing and assistance for persons to build a house of their choice. He also stressed the benefits of government-subsidized food.
So for a family of 4 persons, 25 kg of rice is sufficient for a month. They need to pay only $1 US dollar. Okay? And the government also provides subsidized sugar, subsidized cooking oil, subsidized kerosene for cooking. These are the 4 essential items they supply. This all together for a family could be in $5-6. Not big cities, but $100 is also sufficient for a family to live. Out of $100, you spend $10, you get all the food items.
The Indian High Commissioner says a partnership with Maypen will have benefits for both India and Jamaica, noting the similarities between the Clarion.
Where is the crime plan? That's the question being asked for the past few months. In March, Prime Minister Andrew Holness told the House of Representatives that the government would soon disclose its crime plan, but there needed to be bipartisan support. Now the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang, says the plan is coming.
So when are you going to hear about the plan?
Well, I will speak to greater detail, a number of them, in my presentation on Tuesday.
So when you present, we'll hear the plan?
You will hear what we're doing with crime.
Turning to another issue, in recent times there have been concerns about the relationship between the police and the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM. Dr. Chang says INDECOM has been over-enthusiastic in its handling of some investigations. He's of the view that INDECOM should focus more on citizens' complaints.
Citizens complain about 15% of the shooting. Yet INDECOM is in the other 85%. Becomes part of the investigation.
Because that's what the statute says. That's what the law says they're supposed to do.
Yeah, but
they're not a word-for-word replacer for BSI or whatever. They operate, they're statutory, they're a creature of statute. They operate according to what the statute says. So sure, they act on citizens' complaint, but that isn't the only thing they act on.
Yes, but the principal thing they should be dealing with citizens' complaint thoroughly. Other case they have to handle it in terms of police investigation. The police cannot be in an operation and you have to stop to answer INDECOM question when they're criminal shooting out there.
In the meantime, Dr. Chang says body-worn cameras for the police have not been effective. He has suggested that not enough thought went into the process.
They don't work well with them. In fact, they cannot even go on the regular uniforms, from what I gather. And some of them, when they hang them on the collars, they spin around and you get the picture of the man chest rather than the criminal. And it's not because it's deliberately done. Where they have been introduced, work was done in a very graduated way to get the right cameras, get the right kind of fittings, and ensure the uniforms also can adapt to them. This was the example we tend to refer to in New York. Work is being done to correct the problems, and we'll have body-worn cameras later this year in terms of where required with the police. That will be able to work and work well.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
And Dr. Chang says the Security Ministry will be scrapping the policy to buy used cars for the police. The decision comes in the wake of the failed deal with O'Brien's International Car Sales and Rental, under which it was to supply 200 used cars for the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Dr. Chang says the government is going back to the policy of acquiring new vehicles for the police.
But not only new vehicles, we look at a system of refleeting the police and in fact how to maintain them.
Right, so the used car thing was a dud.
Yeah, an attempt was made to fix the problem in the short term because the police was badly depleted in terms of motor vehicles and it was sought to use used cars quickly. You know, it hasn't worked out as it should, but we are looking at this stage of getting new vehicles and we are looking for, within a short time, to look at specific police vehicles. Police vehicles are purpose-built.
The contract issued to O'Brien's to provide 200 used vehicles to the force was terminated by the National Security Ministry earlier this year. CTOC was called in to investigate the company for fraud after it failed to provide most of the vehicles.